South Carolina is more than beaches and gardens. Beyond its historic cities are towns rich with charm, culture, and surprising affordability. In this video, we're uncovering the most beautiful and cheapest places to live in the Palmetto State, where coastal breezes, southern hospitality, and timeless history prove you don't need a fortune to call it home. Number 10. Conway. What if I told you there's a South Carolina town where the river itself feels like Main Street, where moss-draped oaks lean over sidewalks, and the air carries both the laughter of college students and the weight of century-old courthouses? That's Conway, a riverside gem where Southern soul and affordability meet. Founded in 1732 and once called Kingston, Conway is one of South Carolina's oldest towns. But don't mistake it for sleepy. Its heartbeat is the Waccamaw River, winding past the beloved Riverwalk. Here, cafes, boutiques, and shady benches sit beneath canopies of Spanish moss, making every stroll feel like a living painting. The old Horry County Courthouse, designed by Robert Mills, the same man behind the Washington Monument, still anchors downtown. Proof that history isn't just remembered here, it's lived in. But here's what most people don't realize. In 2025, Conway was ranked the #1 relocation hotspot in America. Why? You'll start to see the answer once you catch the town in celebration mode. Each summer, Riverfest turns the streets into a carnival of fireworks, live music, and even a golf cart parade. Come fall, things get playful with Burger Week and the Witches, Wizards, and Wine Ghost Walk. Proof this historic town doesn't take itself too seriously. At its core is Coastal Carolina University, which keeps Conway buzzing with youthful energy. Students bring art shows, concerts, and sports to life, and local restaurants thrive on the mix of neighbors and newcomers. Just blocks away, the Horry County Museum, set inside a beautifully preserved 1905 schoolhouse, ties it all back together with stories of Native history and local lore. And the lifestyle? It's surprisingly attainable. With a population of just under 30,000, Conway offers riverfront living without the hefty prices. While the big coast commands sky-high cost, Conway lets you live nearby for nearly half the price, with homes averaging around $250,000 to $300,000 and rent hovering close to $800 to $1,000. If life on the Waccamaw feels like a dream, just wait until you see what's hiding further up the coast. A town where the mornings are calm and breezy, and the nights are filled with music. Number 9. North Myrtle Beach. Picture this, a quiet morning where waves roll in like a heartbeat, gulls sketch the sky, and a breeze carries the faint echo of music. Then, when the sun goes down, the same town transforms. Couples take to the floor, hips swaying to the Carolina shag, the smooth beach dance born right here. That's North Myrtle Beach, calm by day, alive with rhythm by night. It's easy to lump it in with Myrtle Beach, the louder cousin just south. But North Myrtle has its own pace. 9 miles of shoreline stretch out here, uncluttered and serene. In neighborhoods like Cherry Grove, Windy Hill, and Crescent Beach, porches catch the ocean breeze, and evening walks feel less like exercise and more like soul therapy. And here's something people don't expect. With a population of about 20,000, North Myrtle Beach is especially beloved by retirees. Nearly 4 in 10 residents are over 65. But that doesn't make it sleepy. If anything, it adds to the warmth and sense of community, the kind of place where neighbors look out for each other and strangers still wave hello. But still, this town knows how to party. Every spring, thousands pour in for the SOS Spring Safari, when the shag dance tradition spills out into the streets, turning the town into one giant open-air ballroom. The calendar never stays quiet for long. Quirky favorites like spaghetti and step dancing, the sounds of summer concerts, and December's Great Christmas Light Show keep the energy alive year-round. When the rhythm slows, North Myrtle leans into pure leisure. Barefoot Landing sprawls across the waterfront with shops, restaurants, and entertainment, from Broadway-style shows at the Alabama Theater to curious gators at Alligator Adventure. And if wine's your thing, Dublin Winery and La Belle Amy set the stage for sunsets so cinematic they feel scripted. Think living by the seas means paying a fortune? Not in North Myrtle Beach. Homes here average $350,000 to $400,000. Rent hovers around $1,000 to $1,200, and groceries fall into the $350 to $400 range. It's the kind of place where you can live by the sea for little more than what you would pay inland. But if you think waves and dancing are a unique combo, wait until you see what happens when railroads, neon sombreros, and history collide. Number 8. Dillon. Some towns whisper their history. Dillon? It rumbles it. Through train tracks that still cut across downtown. Through courthouse steps polished by a century of feet. And through roadside landmarks so big, they practically dare you to pull over. This is small-town South Carolina at its quirkiest and most heartfelt, where the rhythm of the railroad shaped everything from the streets to the skyline. The town was born with the whistle of a locomotive. James W. Dillon himself brought the line here in the late 1800s, turning farmland into a vital stop on the rails. Walk the downtown historic district today, and it feels like a time capsule. Victorian storefronts, Depression-era brickwork, and narrow streets that carry the weight of stories you can almost hear in the air. Step inside the James W. Dillon House, a late Victorian beauty with gingerbread trim and wraparound porch. Now a museum that proves elegance isn't only for big cities. Across town, the 1911 Dillon County Courthouse still stands in stately classical revival style, anchoring downtown life just as it did generations ago. But here's the twist. Dillon isn't just about history. Just off I-95, you'll find south of the border, a neon fever dream of giant sombreros, fireworks stands, and kitschy Americana that feels part carnival, part roadside legend. You'll hear the trains first, but this is the landmark you'll never forget. Life here runs deeper than museums and neon. On weekends, locals head to Little Petey State Park to paddle Lake Norton, hike shaded trails, or camp under night skies so clear they look painted. The Dillon Motor Speedway brings adrenaline with family-friendly races, while the Dillon County Theater still lights up with plays, concerts, and films. All that railroad rhythm and neon kitsch might make Dillon feel larger than life, but the cost of living stays delightfully small. For its 6,300 residents, homes usually run $100,000 to $150,000, and rent averages $600 to $800. Dillon may surprise you with its railroad heartbeat and neon quirks, but the next town carries an elegance straight out of a history book, where porches, courthouses, and century-old oaks create a Southern story like no other. Number 7. Bennettsville. If walls could talk, Bennettsville's would whisper about revolutionary battles fought on its soil, and about cotton fortunes that once rolled through its streets. With a population of about 7,600, this small town feels like stepping into a Southern storybook, but one you can still afford to live in. Founded in 1819, Bennettsville quickly rose to prominence as the seat of Marlboro County. Its pride shows in architecture that still dazzles today. The Marlboro County Courthouse, designed by Robert Mills, the same man behind the Washington Monument, anchors the town's historic district. Stroll through downtown and you'll find Queen Anne turrets, Beaux Arts flourishes, and porches that seem built for sweet tea and slow conversations. At first glance, it feels like a museum you can walk through. But look closer and you'll find a town that's more than its bricks. The Marlboro County Museum showcases both the grand and the quirky, from old printing presses to medical oddities, while local festivals, art shows, and photography contests keep culture alive in the present. Saturdays often bring the hum of a farmer's market, the clink of coffee mugs in cozy cafes, and kids chasing each other under shaded sidewalks. The Marion Wright Edelman Library, named after the Children's Defense Fund founder, isn't just a library. It's a community hub where neighbors gather, study, and share. The real surprise? Beneath all that elegance, Bennettsville remains one of the most affordable towns in South Carolina. Here, homes run $80,000 to $100,000, with rent around $500 to $600. proof that history and charm don't have to come with a heavy price tag. In fact, Bennettsville was the first in the state to earn the title of Great Town for rural economic achievement. But locals will tell you the real achievement is how easy it feels to belong here. Number 6. Orangeburg. They don't call it the Garden City for nothing. Step into Orangeburg in spring, and you'll see why roses bloom in brilliant reds and pinks along the riverbanks. Butterflies flicker across wide garden paths, and the air hums with the kind of energy only a city with both history and soul can carry. With a population of about 13,000, Orangeburg feels at once intimate and alive, rooted in its past, but still reaching forward. At the heart of it all are the Edisto Memorial Gardens, a 175-acre wonderland beside the Edisto River. With nearly 80 rose beds, a butterfly garden, and towering trees shading the walkways, it feels more like living in a painting than a city park. Each May, the Festival of Roses turns the whole place into a celebration of blossoms, music, and Southern hospitality. One of those weekends where the city seems to glow a little brighter. But Orangeburg isn't just about what grows in its gardens. It's about what's grown in spirit. The city is home to 2 historically black universities, Claflin and South Carolina State, both of which bring cultural vibrancy, student pride, and a heartbeat of youthful energy. Orangeburg also carries a pivotal civil rights legacy. The tragic Orangeburg Massacre of 1968 is remembered here with deep respect, powerfully documented at the Cecil Williams Civil Rights Museum and memorials across town. Everyday life brings its own rhythm. The Williams Chapel AME Church, with Gothic Revival spires and stained glass windows, stands as both a spiritual anchor and architectural treasure. Locals gather at the Five Rivers Market to shop antiques, crafts, and fresh produce, while No Frills barbecue joints serve smoky, tangy Carolina classics that remind you flavor doesn't need fanfare. So how much does it cost to live in a city with gardens that look like paintings and history that shaped the nation? Not nearly as much as you'd think. Homes here average $130,000 to $160,000. Rent hovers around $700 to $800. And that price doesn't just buy shelter. It buys front row access to rivers, roses, and a legacy still unfolding. Quick pause before we go on. Drop a like, and in the comments, tell us which of these towns could you picture yourself calling home. And hang tight, because if you think Orangeburg is colorful, the next place is a festival of living art, where entire streets transform into sculptures of giraffes, dinosaurs, and giant teacups. Number 5. Greenwood. On paper, Greenwood looks like just any other small southern city. But in June, it transforms into something you'd never expect. Streets bursting with color, giant giraffes and dinosaurs sculpted out of flowers, even teacups made entirely of blooms. That's Greenwood, the self-proclaimed Emerald City of South Carolina, where festivals and lakes keep life shimmering year-round. With a population of 22,000, it feels big enough to buzz, but small enough to still know your neighbors. The crown jewel is the South Carolina Festival of Flowers, when more than 80,000 visitors flood into town each summer. Larger-than-life topiaries line the streets, concerts spill out into the warm night air, and garden tours turn neighborhoods into open showcases. But here's the twist. Greenwood doesn't stop at flowers. July brings the Festival of Discovery, a weekend thick with blues music, hickory smoke, and some of the best barbecue competitions in the South. For a city this size, it throws a party that rivals much bigger places. But festivals aren't the whole story. Step away from the summer crowds, and you'll find a city with everyday rhythm. Uptown Greenwood is the beating heart, lined with cafes, boutiques, and murals that give it a creative spark. There's even a quirky annual tradition called the Greenwood County Deer Supper, where locals gather for food and storytelling, proof that community ties run deep. Nature is always close by too. Just outside town, Lake Greenwood State Park offers 914 acres of calm water and shaded trails, perfect for camping under the stars or paddling across glassy reflections at sunset. The wider Lakelands region is full of fishing holes, golf courses, and quiet roads where the pace slows down just right. Greenwood's best-kept secret isn't its festivals or its lake. It's how affordable it is to stay. With homes ranging from $150,000 to $180,000 and rent around $800, the price of living here almost feels like something locals don't want the outside world to know. Number 4. Sumter. There's only one city in the world where you can see all 8 species of swans gliding across the same lake, and it's right here in Sumter. With a population of about 43,000, Sumter manages to feel both like a true city and a close-knit hometown. And nowhere is that more clear than at Swan Lake Iris Gardens. Imagine Japanese irises spilling color across the water, magnolias casting reflections, and swans of every feather, from black-neck to trumpeter, drifting past like living sculptures. Come Memorial Day, the whole scene comes alive with the Iris Festival, one of South Carolina's oldest celebrations. And in December, the gardens sparkle again, this time under thousands of holiday lights during the Fantasy of Lights. But Sumter is more than its wings and blossoms. Stroll through town and you'll find a place layered with pride and history. Named after Revolutionary War hero Thomas the Gamecock Sumter, the city grew up on railroads, farming, and textiles. But today, its energy feels much more modern. Downtown has been steadily revitalized, with family-owned restaurants, murals, and small shops bringing everyday charm back to Main Street. Grab a plate of fried catfish or pulled pork at a local diner, and you'll understand why residents brag about Sumter comfort food. Culture and education give the city an even stronger heartbeat. Morris College, a historical black college, brings both academic pride and community events, while USC Sumter and Central Carolina Technical College keep classrooms and theaters buzzing with students and performances. Families spend weekends at ball fields and community parks, while neighbors gather at the library for everything from children's programs to history talks. The real surprise about Sumter isn't just the swans, it's how far your dollar goes. Homes here average $150,000 to $200,000. Rent hovers around $900 to $1,000. But in Sumter, that price tag doesn't just get you a roof. It gets you swans in your backyard park, festivals on your calendar, and a community that still feels anchored in tradition. Up next is a city nicknamed Sparkle City, a place where railroad grit meets arts, music, and food with an upscale vibe, all without losing its small-town budget. Number 3. Spartanburg. They don't call it Sparkle City for nothing. By day, Spartanburg hums with the rhythm of trains, carrying echoes of its railroad past as the old hub city where lines once spread like spokes across the South. But by night, lights shimmer over downtown, barbecue smoke drifts through the air, and the whole city seems to glow a little brighter. With a population of about 40,000, Spartanburg has learned how to balance grit with glitter. The Magnolia Train Depot, now an Amtrak station and museum, is a nod to how this city grew. But step into modern Spartanburg, and it feels less like a crossroads and more like a destination. At the Chapman Cultural Center, art spills from galleries, science and history exhibitions mingle, and music flows from theaters and studios. Add the Hub City's Writers Project, an independent bookstore and publisher, and you'll see why this is a city of creativity as much as commerce. How often do you find a city packed with arts, history, and barbecue festivals without the price tag to match? Spartanburg makes it possible. Homes average $190,000 to $230,000. Rent stays near $1,000, and the payoff is a lifestyle far richer than the cost. Food and celebration are Spartanburg's love language. The Hub City Hog Fest draws over 40 barbecue teams, with music filling the streets. The Greek Festival, Dickens of a Christmas, and the International Festival add their own rhythms, while weekly music on Main concerts keep downtown buzzing all season long. For quieter days, nature is never far. The Hatcher Garden and Woodland Preserve brings wildflowers and shady trails right into the city, while the Cottonwood Trail offers wetlands and birdwatching just steps from downtown. These aren't escapes from the city, they're part of its everyday rhythm. They call it Sparkle City, maybe because Spartanburg shines with more energy than its size. But up next is a town with a title no one else can claim: the prettiest town in Dixie. Number 2. Cheraw. Ask any South Carolinian where to find the prettiest town in Dixie, and chances are they'll point you to Cheraw. And when you arrive, it doesn't take long to see why. Antebellum homes shaded by moss-draped oaks, a riverfront that glimmers at sunset, and a rhythm that feels both historic and refreshingly alive. With a population of about 5,000, Cheraw may be small, but it carries a grace that feels timeless. The Cheraw Historic District stretches across 600 acres, one of the largest in South Carolina. Walking here is like stepping through a living museum. Elegant antebellum homes, Victorian storefronts, and century-old churches standing shoulder to shoulder. At its heart is St. David's Episcopal Church, built in 1770, one of the oldest congregations in the state. Its steeple still rising above town as it has for centuries. But Cheraw isn't a postcard frozen in time. It's a place alive with parks, music, and outdoor adventure. The Petey River winds gracefully along its edge, offering peaceful trails and shady parks for picnics. And just beyond town, Cheraw State Park unfolds across 7,300 acres of pine forest, wetlands, and rare plants, with Lake Juniper shimmering at its center. And then there's the affordability, the part that feels almost unreal. Where else can you live in the prettiest town in Dixie for less than $150,000? In Cheraw, homes average between $100,000 and $150,000. Rent hovers near $800, and even groceries stay lighter than most towns in the state. Imagine owning a porch-front home framed by century-old oaks for less than the cost of a starter condo. Music runs through Cheraw too. The town proudly honors its most famous son, jazz legend Dizzy Gillespie, with a bronze statue on the town green, a reminder that even small towns can shape the sound of the world. And yet, Cheraw isn't our number one. That honor belongs to a coastal jewel crowned America's best small coastal town, a harbor city where elegance, history, and affordability meet by the water. Number 1. Georgetown. On South Carolina's coast lies Georgetown, a harbor town of under 9,000 people that's been crowned America's best coastal small town. Here, time slows as marshes glow at sunset, and moss-draped oaks frame brick streets that lead straight to the water. Downtown feels like a living painting: colonial storefronts, antebellum homes, and the harbor walk where locals sip coffee as sailboats drift by. History runs deep, from rice and indigo trade to Gullah Geechee traditions, all woven into museums and preserved streetscapes. Yet, for all its beauty, Georgetown stays surprisingly affordable. Homes average around $200,000, rents near $1,000, and daily costs remain low. Beyond downtown, the Hammock Coast opens into marshes, rivers, and barrier beaches, perfect for kayaking, birdwatching, or spotting dolphins offshore. What makes Georgetown special is balance, historic but alive, stunning yet not overrun, affordable without losing charm. It's a coastal treasure where every evening ends with a harbor breeze and the quiet rhythm of waves. We hope you loved exploring with us today. Up next, we've got another beautiful destination you won't want to miss. Thanks for watching.